Stellantis and thousands of jobs are on the line. Stellantis saying they plan to lay off roughly 2,450 workers at the Warren Truck Assembly. That plant currently builds an older version of the Ram 1500 pickup, but that production is moving to their Sterling Heights plant, causing a shift to be eliminated at Warren. 7 News reporter Tara Braddock talking with auto workers who've been with Stellantis for many, many years, sharing advice that they have for younger auto workers.
Hello everyone, welcome back. Stellantis says thousands of workers could be laid off at their Warren plant. Now, the car market cycle has begun. The mass layoffs have arrived in the automotive sector or have been ramped up a bit. I say this because Stellantis have announced it will go ahead and slash their workforce in one of their plants here in Detroit. And this is probably the third or fourth story I have brought about Stellantis. Bad leadership from the outset, and Lee Iacocca must be miserable and unable to rest in peace. Analyzing the mass layoffs, particularly those affecting the automotive industry, is crucial to understanding the broader economic shifts and their implications for the workforce. Now, in this video, I will try and explain why automakers move operations and the impact it will have on the job market and to those who work in the sector. But before we dive into our feature video, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button if you have to go. The algorithm will really appreciate it. Now, let's get into this feature.
Stellantis and thousands of jobs are on the line. Stellantis saying they plan to lay off roughly 2,450 workers at the Warren Truck Assembly. That plant currently builds an older version of the Ram 1500 pickup, but that production is moving to their Sterling Heights plant, causing a shift to be eliminated at Warren. 7 News reporter Tara Braddock talking with auto workers who've been with Stellantis for many, many years, sharing advice that they have for younger auto workers.
Chrysler parent company Stellantis put out a warning on Friday that layoffs could be coming to the Warren truck plant as early as October.
The basic rule around the plan is until it's in black and white, until it actually happens, come to work every day.
Howard Watson has worked at the Warren truck plant for 30 years.
It's a roller coaster. No matter what auto industry you work for, there's always the highs and the lows.
According to Stellantis, a little more than 2,400 employees are facing layoffs. There are 3,900 employees who work at the Warren truck plant. Right now, an older version of the Dodge Ram 1500 pickup truck is being produced at the plant. A Stellantis spokesperson says the Warren plant will stop producing the older version of the truck and worker shifts will be eliminated. Production.
So basically what he's saying is don't get comfortable. As you can see, the automotive industry, traditionally a cornerstone of manufacturing employment, is currently undergoing a significant transformation, and these changes are largely driven by the transition to electric vehicles, thanks to the mandate, of course, and increased automation and the pressures of globalization taking place, particularly the high interest rate and high inflation. Layoffs in this sector are not just a reflection of the immediate financial challenges, but are indicative of the broader structural changes that it carries along with those decisions. But why automakers move operations? And this is what Stellantis is currently doing by closing down one plant and shifting operations and phasing out some of their older models, because it's mainly in part to cost reduction. And one of the primary reasons automakers relocate operations to countries with lower operating costs is to maintain or improve profit margins. They did close down one of their head office, or is going to close down one of their head office and operate mostly out of Europe, where their holding company operate. And this is particularly due to the cost of labor, regulatory expenses, and tax burdens, which are also another significant lower in many developing countries compared to countries with established automotive industry. For example, the cost of manufacturing a vehicle in China, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, or Mexico can be considerably far less than in the United States or Germany, as a matter of fact, and the UK. And this is by miles. So if you want to work in the industry here in the West, don't get comfortable. Let's continue.
Of a newer version of the truck will be shifted to a Stellantis assembly plant in Sterling Heights.
I think the younger people are a little bit more nervous than those that have 20 plus years. I think the younger ones that just got rolled over after the strike, I think their knees are knocking.
What will be your advice to the younger generation as they may face layoffs in a few months?
To just don't do any foolish spending, pay attention, read the contract book to find out what it is that will happen to you and what won't happen to you. And just educate yourself and just come to work until you actually, someone in management tells you what the real issue is.
That's just one part of it. Another thing is LIFO in the accounting term, last in, first out. In redundancy and layoff exercises, they'll want to lay off the ones that are actually just beginning in or have far less experience in terms of years, far less working experience with the company, because it's a lot cheaper to lay them off as opposed to this gentleman here who's been here for 30 years. In retrospect, you have to look at it that don't get comfortable, meaning that always try to upgrade yourself doing something else apart from just coming to work every day, because you will get definitely complacent by doing a lot of these things. And this is why some of the younger generation, particularly the younger millennials and Gen Z, have given up hope in doing the traditional work hours that older generation like myself, we work for 40 hours for 40 years and then try to enjoy a pension. That doesn't exist anymore because there's no loyalty in the game. So the automotive industry is looking at emerging markets. So by shifting production to countries with growing middle classes, automakers, they can be closer to their target consumers. Toyota did this back in the 1990s and early 2000s because there's always a shift going on in particular countries when the respective government have to battle with inflation and the interest rate regime. As soon as money starts circulating and people have more disposable income, then they start buying a lot more stuff than needed, buying bigger houses, buying fancier cars. It shows a growth in the GDP, but at the same time, it allows overspending, in particular to both government, private sector, and the individuals. The proximity where a lot of automakers not only reduces shipping and logistics costs as well, but it allows for quicker adaptation to local markets. Then you have things like incentives from host countries. Many developing countries offer substantial incentives to attract foreign investments, including tax breaks, subsidies, and the development of infrastructure tailored to the needs of automakers. If you're following what is going on, particularly in the United States, a lot of the manufacturing and corporate companies are leaving California instead and going towards Texas, who are lowering them to come there, creating more employment for that state because they have been offered tax incentives and lower costs for operations. And this will have a total impact on the job market, particularly in California. And this will lead to job displacements. We're sticking to automakers, I digress. So as automakers move operations to other countries with lower labor costs, workers in higher cost countries, particularly here in Canada and the United States, face job losses, and these layoffs can be especially devastating in regions heavily dependent on the automotive manufacturing, leading to spikes in unemployment and economic hardships. Let's finish up this video.
Though the older version of the Ram truck won't be produced here at the Warren plant, I'm told by Stellantis that the Jeep Wagoneer will still be produced here.
Now, in countries losing these jobs, there's a shift in demand towards high-skilled labor, particularly in engineering, design, and software development related to EVs and autonomous vehicles. We were trying to push autonomous vehicles at one point. I am not sure what is happening because automotive market, the new car market right now is in shambles. However, this transition will be slow, especially those in traditional manufacturing roles and without viable employment options. Then we have the rise in automation and AI manufacturing, further amplifies the job loss problem. Gone are the days when thousands of workers were employed to a plant. I remember my experience traveling to Japan, and when I visited one of the manufacturing plants there, I could probably count on one hand the amount of workers that I saw on the floor. Everything was automated. These giant robot arms were basically doing everything. And that was what TPS was all about, the Toyota Production Systems. And as that evolved, more and more manufacturers actually adopted that system. So even in low-cost countries, automakers are increasingly investing in technology that reduces the need for human labor. This trend suggests that while some jobs may shift geographically, the overall demand for labor in automotive manufacturing is likely to decline, as you're seeing here. Then we have to look at the economic outlook. Future job market in the automotive sector will likely be more polarized. On one end, there will be high demand for skilled workers in high-tech heavy roles related to EVs, battery technology, and the autonomous driving systems. And then on the other hand, traditional manufacturing jobs will continue to dwindle. And this bifurcation will lead to greater income inequality within the industry. In near term, companies undergoing restructuring or moving operations are likely to implement hiring freeze or even reduce their workforce. And this is often a temporary measure to stabilize the finances during a period of transition. That's what we're basically seeing now. Over the long term, as new technologies mature and companies establish new production lines, there may be a resurgence in hiring. However, these jobs will require different skills, focusing more on technology and less on manual labor. Again, AI is coming to take over. It is predicted by the World Economic Forum over 100 million jobs will be lost to AI by the year 2030. Now, to wrap this up, the mass layoffs in the automotive industry, particularly those stemming from the transition to EVs and global shifts in manufacturing, presents a significant challenge for workers and economies alike. While automakers benefit from reduced cost and greater market access by moving operations to low-cost countries, the impact on the job market will be severe. As you're seeing here, the future of automotive employment will increasingly favor high-skilled, tech-savvy workers, while opportunities for traditional manufacturing roles will continue to decline. Policymakers and industry leaders are unable to address these shifts. Why I say that? They are the ones of the same, in my opinion, greedy and myopic. We are reactive and not proactive, and I'm curious what Stellantis had as their defensive strategic plan. Every business should have one. Then the short-term, mid-term, and long-term strategic plan would have fall in place. There's no doubt the industry is in disarray right now due to poor policies from both the public and private sector. But what do I know? If they can't ensure that workers are prepared for the jobs of tomorrow through retraining programs and educational initiatives, then our children are definitely doomed. As usual, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to grab a copy of my ebook, The Parts Manager Guide. Please smash that like button on your way out. It will only take you 1.5 seconds to do so. Until next time.